Hey guys, Zen here, and today we have a lot of stuff to talk about. I was recently blessed and a subscriber sent over a huge leak for the next season of Rainbow Six Siege. We're going to be talking about the potential of the Moroccan operators, Year 3 Season 4, and even further beyond that. So now is a great time to subscribe and turn on notifications because as we learn more about the next season of Rainbow Six Siege and beyond, you guys know I'll have content right here for you. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is that this leak is actually coming from the same person that leaked Operation Chimera, and if I'm correct, he also had a hand in leaking the original post for Operation Blood Orchid when we learned about Ying and Legion. Of course, before we get started, I must say that all of this is a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. None of this is official. None of this is coming out of Ubisoft. Obviously, we just had Operation Grim Sky released, so the next season of Rainbow Six Siege is still a very far way out. So with that being said, let's get right into all of this. So first off, we don't have any official information on the name of the operation. That is still to be announced. But we do learn about the possible map, and it'll be called Embassy. Now, I tried my hand at looking up some Moroccan embassies, but from what I can tell, they seem to be all over the world. But I did come up with a general architecture of what some of these embassies look like, and generally speaking, I can definitely see a Rainbow Six Siege map taking place here. They have this almost Greek and Roman style architecture to them. They seem like really tall, sturdy buildings. They almost remind me of Consulate in a way, with multiple floors, possible balconies. So again, I can definitely see a map taking place here, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we ended up having an embassy map at some point down the line in the game. So as far as the map goes, again guys, Embassy. Now, before we get into all of the details, I wanted to show you guys this image. It's what could be the operator selection screen for the next season, and we get to see two new icons there at the bottom. The first is a missile or rocket of some sort, and the second is a biohazard icon. Now, the rest of the photo seems to be scribbled out. There must be some information there they don't want us to know, but the reason why I think that this just may be real is because these icons are red, and the Moroccan season, the Moroccan flag, everything that really will encompass this next season would be based around this red profile and this red theme and aesthetic. So these icons being red kind of signifies to me that this may just be what's coming next season. Now, moving on, we're going to talk about the operators. First up, the attacker, and apparently the name is Amisa. Now, I'm not sure if that is a male or female's name. If you are Moroccan or you know of Moroccan culture, you can let us know, but apparently the gadget is going to be a propelled explosive that explodes on impact and is also a shrapnel mine. So what I get from that is almost like an ash breaching charge, a launcher of some sort that you will stand back and you'll fire off this explosive that will then explode on impact. And if you guys know what shrapnel is, it's basically these metal shards that fly out after an explosion or after some sort of bomb, and they go everywhere. So it is possible that this gadget does damage to multiple defenders all at once, especially if they're all around the same proximity of each other. But another way to look at this is, again, it states a shrapnel mine. So it's possible that after the explosion goes off, a mine of some sort sticks to the ground or the walls or maybe even the ceiling, and if defenders come around it, it then shoots out shrapnel of some sort. Now, again, anytime you're talking about a shrapnel-like explosion, you almost have to think of it like buckshot. It just goes everywhere. It's kind of secondary to the big explosion. So I'm thinking after you let off that explosion and it does its initial damage, you'll then have the shrapnel go out, which will do area of effect damage and kind of be attack's way of clearing out a room or at least damaging all the attackers in a specific room. The first area that comes to mind for me is the penthouse objective on Coastline. Imagine standing near the bathroom area and kind of letting off this explosion next to the bed or behind where Mira always puts her windows, and it could do a lot of damage to those defenders they're trying to anchor down, and I see this as a very powerful gadget in those kinds of situations. Next up, we're going to talk about the defender. So apparently the name is Ballistic, and the gadget is a device that can be anchored to surfaces. Once attackers pass through, the toxic particles infects them, causing damage and impaired vision and hearing. This is considered area denial. So the first thing that I think of when I hear this is a blend between Ella and Legion. You guys know when you get hit by a Gersmont mine from either Ella or Zofia, it sends a flash across your screen. It's very difficult to hear anything. It leaves you very disoriented. And then on the other hand, you have Legion. When you step on one of his goo mines, it leaves you poisoned until you take out the needle, and it does damage over time. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, this kind of sounds like smoke. We're talking about area denial. denial, that's Smoke's specialty. If someone sits in his gas clouds, they're going to take damage, they're going to be hurt over time. But the leak explicitly says that it infects them. Now, you guys know how Smoke works. You have to be standing in his gas clouds to be taking any damage at all. So with this, I'm thinking that if attackers come anywhere near this device, they'll instantly be infected and either have to deal with it or just accept the fact that they're poisoned for a short time and they'll take some damage and of course have all of those other effects happening as well. When it comes to the placement of this gadget, I'm thinking you're going to want to put this in places that you would use Smoke's gas canisters. The difference here though would be that you'd be setting these up during the preparation phase, whereas Smoke is more of an action kind of operator where you use his gas canisters when you need it. If we go back to the coastline example, back at that same penthouse objective, that main window that overlooks the whole bed area and the bathroom, you always have a Smoke playing that area, or at least you always have him using his gas canisters in that area. Imagine putting a gadget like this right next to the window. You now have a place where if they come in, not only are they concussed, not only can they not see or hear, but they're also taking that damage over time. Now, I'm not really sure exactly how many of these gadgets Ballistic will have access to. If you think about Ella, she only has 3 Gersmont mines, and Zofia has actually been knocked down to 3 as well. And then we have Legion, who has access to 8 goo mines, but he gets them over time, so you don't have them all at once. I would assume that this operator would probably have access to 3, maybe 4. It would all depend on how long these effects last and how much damage these operators will take after they step through these particles. But in general, I would say that this is another trap-like operator that deals a lot of damage and has a lot of area of effect. Now, we don't have another operator quite like that in the game right now. Smoke, I'm not going to say he's the only operator that does this job, but I would say that he's probably the best currently, and he really doesn't have any competition. So an operator like Ballistic, where you're putting this trap down, there's some sort of particles, there's some sort of infection happening, I would assume that this is going to be a really strong gadget in that area denial category. Now, Smoke does have an advantage in that it's Smoke, so it's very difficult to see through. Unless you're Glaz, you really have no idea what's going on the other side, and that's a big benefit of actually using Smoke. When you use his gas canisters, attackers have to make the decision. If they want to push, it's not all about taking damage from the gas canisters. Most times, they won't sit in the gas canisters and won't die. They really have to make that choice. Now, maybe with Ballistic, they'll have to make that same choice. So instead of not being able to visibly see because there's smoke in front of you, you're going to be concussed, you're going to be impaired, so you're not going to be able to see that well at all. Next up, we actually learn of a December 4th release date, and this makes sense because if you guys remember last year with Season 4 and Operation White Noise, that released on December 5th. So having this release window of December 4th makes a lot of sense and is accurate with the rest of the content launches that we have had. And finally, we have what could be the biggest news of this entire leak. We may be having an upcoming Year 4 Season 1 event titled Fallout. Now, we don't have any more than that, just the name, but if I had to speculate, I'd guess this would be another limited time event, very similar to Outbreak like we had earlier this year. You guys remember Outbreak, the alien zombie-like mode that came to Rainbow Six Siege for a few months? Ubisoft all but scrapped it, and they let us all know that Outbreak would never be returning. It was also announced that operators like Lion would probably never be introduced into this game again because overall they were game-breaking, and Ubisoft even designed both Lion and Finka with PvE in mind, with that Outbreak-like experience in mind. They were actually not designed from the ground up for multiplayer, so they didn't ever want to see that come back. If I had to guess, I would assume that this is something completely different that we've probably never even thought could come to Rainbow Six Siege. I know a lot of people are probably instantly going to speculate that this could be a battle royale mode of some sort for Rainbow Six Siege, and as much as I know a lot of people enjoy those kinds of games and love battle royale, I don't think that that kind of gameplay would work at all in a game like Rainbow Six Siege. This game is all about tight corners, it's all about really close quarters combat, it's not about big sweeping maps with a lot of open space, it's not about shooting and looting, and so I really don't think that any kind of battle royale could be introduced into this game. But that's everything, guys. I know that there is a ton of information in this video, and I know that no one expected a massive season leak like this to happen fresh after an operation just launched, but here it is, guys. This is the potential Moroccan season and even further beyond with things like Fallout. So of course I want to hear from you. What do you think of everything we learned in this video? The new map Embassy, the attacker Amisa, the defender Ballistic. Let me know everything in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.